NHL opening face-off. Paul, how's it going?
Good, Adam. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. We're going to go position by position. You know how this works for DFS. First, of course, we begin at center. Who stands out to you?
Well, you go to the top of the board, Adam, and you look at the two guys that are the headliners. For 9,200, you can get McKinnon. He's got 9 goals, 63 shots on goal. I think that's the highest 10-game segment of anybody that I've seen all year long. Barkov, for his part, 3 goals, 16 points, 32 shots on goal for $800 less. I'm going to fade both of these guys, though, and save a little bit of money. I like Lindholm in Calgary for $7,000. He's got a nice matchup against Buffalo tonight. He is on the hottest line in the league over the last 2 months, I'll say. 14 points and 28 shots on goal, averaging 15.7 DK points per game in his last 10. I'd rather go there than the other two big boys. And then if you want to save some money even more, you go to Kuznetsov in Washington. He's centering for a guy named Ovechkin, whom you may have heard
of him, yeah.
Got 5 goals, 12 points, and 27 shots on goal, averaging 13.4 DK points in his last 10. There's good value there.
You know, if you're going to save a little loot, Nazem Kadri's in a good spot.
Yes, he is.
If we're looking at the wing, now, yeah, I don't think you need to save here necessarily, or at least not dramatically. You know, at highest, you know, obviously a guy like Ovechkin, he's 8,100, and you can always justify him. He always has the potential to go off. But, I don't know, Mikko Rantanen, I know you're a big fan of him. He's right there at the top of the board in terms of projections, but great spot. Yeah,
that's a great spot and a great matchup for him tonight, too. And if you're happy with him, go right ahead because it's good value there, a good high floor, I think. But you got to make the case for Ovechkin. Carolina's on the second of back-to-backs, and the Caps are scoring against everybody of late. Ovi's got 45 shots on goal in his last 10 games. Not something you want to discount when you're looking at trying to make a big hit in DK points. And then if you don't like those two big plays for the top money, go a little bit lower, not too much, and you look at the guys that are facing each other, Pasternak and Connor. In the Winnipeg-Boston game, I kind of shy away from those kind of matchups. I expect a low-scoring game there, but those two guys are on fire and tempting too. Instead, I'm going to go just a tad lower than them and look at Matthew Tkachuk for Calgary. He's on that same line as Lindholm, $6,900 the price tag. Cheap when you consider he's facing Buffalo, and he's on a roll with 15 points in his last 10 games played. And also, you got to like Sam Reinhart for Florida against Anaheim. The Panthers have to be smarting from a defeat against Vegas last night. I don't know how that happened. I watched the game, and Florida looked as bad as they have in a long time. I expect a big bounce back. They'll have Bobrovsky in the net, too. I think they're going to be all over Anaheim tonight, and Reinhart will be a big part of that for $5,000.
Aside from Cale Makar for Colorado tonight, looks like defense is really more value position. What do you think?
I agree with you. I'm going to fade the big boys tonight. You certainly will blow your brains out on Makar and Ekblad. That'll limit your opportunity to buy some forwards, too. So no small consideration. Instead, I like two guys I've touted a lot over the last past week. They've delivered very recently. I'm talking about Devin Taves in Colorado. He's got 8 points and 27 shots. Don't forget the 16 blocks in his last 10 games. That's a high floor of 12.7 DK points. I think he's going to top that tonight for $5,800. And then Rasmus Andersson, a guy who has quietly taken over the power play quarterback role in Calgary, and he's got 10 points in his last 10 games played. Don't forget his defensive prowess as well, 17 blocks, and he's averaging over 10 points in DK play over the last 10 games slate and costs only $5,000 tonight.
Whenever we're together, Paul, we like to play this game. Value. I shout out a couple options. You tell me why I'm wrong. I'm going to go in a different direction. Here we go. How about you could do Adam Gaudette. Good spot for Ottawa. Tyler Ennis as well. And but the one I like best, how about Max Comtois? What do you think?
I like all three of those picks, but I'm going to give you 3 other ones that I like a little bit more, okay?
Please.
Tyler Toffoli's been great in Calgary since he joined them. 6 goals, 6 assists, 33 shots on goal in his last 10 games played. That's a 14.4 DK average, and that's only going to cost you $4,800 tonight. Then I go back to Ottawa. I know you touted a couple of guys. How about Connor Brown? $4,600 for a guy who's playing first-line minutes on the right wing again. 7 points, 28 shots on goal in his last 10 games, facing a Philly club that's on the second of back-to-backs. It was an emotional night because they celebrated Claude Giroux's, likely his last game in Philly, also the 1,000th of his great career. I think there'll be a bit of a letdown in the Philly dressing room tonight. And then Zegras in Anaheim. We haven't talked about him for a while, and he's playing first-line minutes in Anaheim. Obviously, a highlight reel waiting to happen against the Florida club on the second of back-to-backs. This could be a high-scoring game. and he only costs $4,300 for a guy who has 30 shots on goal in his last 10 starts.
Over on the DraftKings Sportsbook here, Paul, you've got, I don't know, is there a favorite goal total for you beyond, I mean, we always, it feels like have that standard 5.5 in the NHL, but is there one that really jumps out at you tonight?
You know what? We've talked about the overs a lot. I'm going to give you one that stands out in that direction. It's Washington and Carolina. I saw Carolina against the Leafs last night, and their offense was a little bit off. I think they're going to have to be a little bit better tonight against another good team at home tonight in Washington. And I think the goals are going to come like crazy. And I think I'm going to hit the over hard. The line of 6 is not very flattering. It's a minus 115 payoff. I go a little bit higher. Even a half puck should get you into the plus side of that bet. And I like that. And I'm also tempted to go on the underside of the Florida-Anaheim game. Florida's going to be looking to tighten things up defensively, and Anaheim's just not scoring too much against anybody of late. So I think they come well under the 6.5 on the under there.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm just looking at it now. We don't have our NHL standard 5.5 tonight. Every game is either 6 or 6.5, so we're expecting plenty of offense tonight in these games. Do you have a preferred money line or puck line bet?
You know what? I'm going to try a couple of puck line bets tonight, and I'm looking at two teams that really light it up offensively. Colorado minus $1.5 at San Jose. They've been giving up a lot of goals all year long. They're minus 1.5 to get that number. And then Florida minus 1.5 at Anaheim. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I think Florida's going to be well ahead of Anaheim in this one and worth the plus 110 bet on that one.